Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're all about getting you up to speed quickly without overwhelming you with too much info.
That's right. Straight to the good stuff.
Exactly. So today we're diving deep into something that's become absolutely essential for anyone in music these days. Social media, specifically social media management for musicians.
Yeah, we've been looking at a bunch of sources, articles, guides, all that good stuff, and it's clear that things have really changed in the music industry.
Definitely. And the message is loud and clear. If you're a musician, whether you're just starting out or you've been around for a while, you got to have a solid online presence. No two ways about it. So in this deep dive, we're going to try to uncover the key reasons why. And, what's in it for you, the listener, whether you make music yourself or you're just curious about the industry.
Basically, the big takeaway is this: how musicians manage their online presence these days. It's not just some little side thing anymore. It can literally make or break a career. If you get it right, so many doors can open up. But if you ignore it, well, you could be missing out in a big way.
Okay, so let's get right into it. One of the things that really jumped out at us from the research is this. There's been a huge power shift in the music industry.
The huge shifts, yeah.
And it's all thanks to these digital platforms, right? Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all of them. They've gone from just being places to share updates to becoming major players in the music industry itself. Like, they have real power now.
Absolutely. I mean, one article we came across put it pretty bluntly. I think it said something like, in today's music industry, having a solid online strategy on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter can actually make or break a career.
Whoa.
Yeah. Sounds a bit dramatic, maybe. But when you really think about how music reaches people these days, it's true.
Right. It's not like the old days where you could just rely on radio play or getting signed to a big label. Now musicians have to build their own audiences online.
Exactly. And having a strong online presence, it's not just a bonus anymore. It's basically the bare minimum. Doesn't matter if you're a brand new artist trying to get your first 1,000 streams or a seasoned pro. Everyone needs a solid online strategy now. It's just part of the game.
Okay, so now that we've established that a strong online presence is non-negotiable, the next question is, how do you actually do it?
Right. Because anyone can post a selfie on Instagram, but doing it effectively, like in a way that actually builds your career as a musician.
Right. There's got to be more to it.
That takes a lot more than just knowing how to use the apps. It's a whole set of specialized skills.
It's almost like its own profession, wouldn't you say?
Totally. It is its own profession, which is why more and more musicians are working with, like dedicated social media managers.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense. It's kind of like hiring a mixing engineer to make sure your music sounds amazing.
Exactly. A social media manager is like a specialist for your online presence. And the sources we looked at, they really went into detail about the kind of knowledge these folks bring to the table. It's not just about posting a cool pic and calling it a day.
So what kind of stuff do they actually do?
Well, one big thing is that they know how to create different strategies for each platform. Because, each one is different, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, what works on TikTok might not work on YouTube. And vice versa.
Exactly. Each platform, whether it's Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, or even some of the newer ones coming out, they all have their own unique culture, their own kind of vibe.
Right.
And they also have, really complicated algorithms, these formulas that determine what content gets seen by people. So a good social media manager, they understand all those nuances and can tailor their strategies for each platform.
So what does that actually look like? Like, give me an example.
Okay, so, imagine you're a musician, right? You might share behind-the-scenes glimpses of your recording process on Instagram stories.
To make people feel like they're getting a special peek into your world.
Exactly. It creates a sense of intimacy with your followers. But then on TikTok, maybe you focus on posting those, really polished, short performance clips.
Because those tend to do really well on TikTok.
Right. Because TikTok's algorithm loves that kind of content. So it's all about understanding the strengths of each platform and tailoring your content accordingly.
So it's not just about randomly posting whatever, whenever.
No, not at all. There's a real science to it. A lot of it has to do with data analysis too. Social media managers are constantly tracking how many people are liking, commenting on, and sharing your posts.
Oh, yeah. The metrics. Gotta love those metrics.
Yeah. But it's not about vanity, it's about understanding what's working and what's not, so they can adjust their strategies. Plus, they're always keeping an eye on the latest digital trends. Because things change so quickly online, it's a full-time job just keeping up.
Oh, for sure.
And for you, the listener, I think the big takeaway here is that a social media manager, they bring efficiency to the digital space. You know, you don't have to become an expert in algorithms and all those analytics just to promote your music.
Right. You can leave that to the pros.
Yeah, they can handle it. And they look at things like, engagement rate. That's like the percentage of people who see your post and actually interact with it, like, comment, share, and a high engagement rate. That tells you your content is really resonating with your audience.
Now, one thing that kept popping up in all the sources we looked at is the importance of building a recognizable identity online.
Oh, totally. Your brand.
Your brand, yeah. And it's more than just a cool logo or, a certain aesthetic, right?
Right. It goes way deeper than that. It's about having a consistent voice, a message that's consistent across all of your online channels. Think about the musicians you really connect with. They usually have a very clear and recognizable presence online.
Absolutely. You can tell it's them right away. And that's where a social media manager can really help, right?
For sure. They make sure that everything you put out there, all your posts, your interactions, it all aligns with your overall brand as a musician.
So it creates a cohesive picture for your audience.
Right. And that consistency is super important for a few reasons. First, it builds a stronger connection with your fans. Because when you're putting out a consistent message, it builds trust.
People know what to expect from you.
Exactly. And it also makes you more memorable. You stand out from the crowd. And when your audience has a clear sense of who you are and what you're about, they're way more likely to become, loyal, engaged fans.
They're invested in you.
Yeah, exactly.
Which brings us to something I know a lot of musicians struggle with. Time.
Oh, yeah. There's never enough of it.
Right. Always juggling a million things.
And our sources really emphasized how many hats musicians wear these days. Songwriter, performer, recording artist, sometimes even their own manager. On top of everything else, trying to handle social media effectively, it can be totally overwhelming. It takes away from the actual music.
Oh, absolutely. And one source we came across actually had a quote about this. It said, handling social media on top of all your other responsibilities can be overwhelming. A social media manager takes this task off your plate, allowing you to focus on what you do best. Making music.
That's so true.
Right.
And it's not just about the actual time you save. It's about the mental space it frees up.
Yeah.
Imagine, you're not constantly thinking about what to post, when to post, how to respond to comments.
You can just focus on the music.
Exactly. And that shift in focus can make a huge difference in a musician's productivity and even their well-being. Like less stress, more creative energy.
Now let's talk about the fans, because ultimately it's all about connecting with them, right? Building a community around your music.
Totally. And that's something social media managers are really good at, fostering that two-way interaction.
Not just talking at your fans, but actually talking with them.
Right. Engaging with followers, responding to comments, having real-time conversations.
Yeah.
It makes fans feel valued, like they're part of something.
Like their voices are being heard.
Exactly. And that kind of genuine engagement, it's what creates a loyal community. It turns casual listeners into diehard fans, the kind of fans who are invested in your journey.
And those are the fans who will stick with you long term.
Exactly. They're the ones who buy your merch, come to your shows, and tell all their friends about you. And what's really interesting is how, even a small interaction online, like a personalized reply to a comment, can translate into real-world support.
Wow, yeah. That's powerful.
It is. It shows you care.
Now let's talk about content, because at the end of the day, that's what social media is all about.
Right. But it's not enough to just post anything,
Yeah, we were just talking about how much noise there is online.
Exactly. It's so crowded these days. You got to make sure your content stands out. So social media managers, they understand this. They know how to create high-quality content that actually resonates with your audience.
So what kind of content are we talking about?
Well, it's everything. Visually appealing photos,
Of course. Gotta have those.
Engaging videos, especially short-form videos. Those are huge these days. And even well-written text posts, like telling a story or sharing your thoughts. And it's not just about creating new stuff all the time.
Right.
Our sources also talked about something called content curation.
Oh, interesting. What is that?
It's basically finding relevant and interesting content from other sources, stuff that aligns with your brand as a musician, and sharing it with your audience.
Ah, I see. So it's like you're not just promoting yourself all the time, you're sharing other stuff that your fans might be interested in.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It keeps your feed dynamic, and it positions you as part of a larger conversation. It adds value.
Earlier, we touched on the importance of data, but let's dig into that a bit more, because understanding what's working and what's not, it's not just about gut feeling.
Yep, not at all. It's about data. Cold, hard data.
So how does that work?
Well, Social media managers, they use all kinds of analytics tools that the platforms provide to track different things,
Like what kinds of things?
like engagement rates, how fast your following is growing, the overall reach of your content, like how many people are actually seeing it.
And this isn't just about bragging rights, right? Like who has the most followers?
No, not at all. It's about getting real insights into what your audience is responding to, what kind of content they like, what time of day they're most active, which platforms are working best for you.
So you can tailor your strategy accordingly.
Exactly. And they also have to keep up with all the latest trends and algorithm changes. Because social media platforms, they're constantly tweaking things. What worked 6 months ago might not work today.
It's a constantly evolving landscape.
It really is. So a good social media manager, they're like a dedicated researcher for your online presence. They make sure your approach stays current and effective.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit here, our sources also talk about something that's not so glamorous but super important.
Oh, what's that?
Dealing with the unexpected. Because, let's face it, the internet can be a bit of a Wild West sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Not all sunshine and roses.
Right. You might get negative comments, critical feedback, even like nasty rumors.
Yeah, unfortunately that stuff happens. But a good social media manager, they know how to handle those tricky situations professionally.
It's like they have crisis management skills.
Exactly. They know how to respond appropriately to negative feedback, de-escalate tense situations, and protect your reputation.
They're like a PR shield for your online presence.
That's a good way to put it. And what's really valuable is that they're not just reacting to problems, they're often anticipating potential issues.
So they're proactive, not just reactive.
Exactly. Putting strategies in place to prevent things from blowing up.
Smart.
It's damage control before the damage even happens.
Okay, so we've talked about managing your existing fan base. But what about reaching new people? Growing your audience?
Yes. That's where paid advertising comes in.
Right.
And social media platforms, they have some seriously powerful advertising tools these days. You can target very specific groups of people based on their interests, demographics, all that.
Super targeted.
But using these tools effectively, it takes know-how.
Definitely not something you just jump into.
Nope. And social media managers, they're skilled in creating and managing those paid ad campaigns. They know how to optimize them for maximum impact and make sure you're not just throwing money away.
So it's not just about blindly boosting posts.
No, it's strategic. They have specific goals in mind, whether it's getting more followers, driving people to your music, or even selling tickets to your shows.
Right.
And ultimately, it's all about getting your music and your name in front of the right people. Potential new fans, industry professionals, the people who can really help take your career to the next level.
So in the end, a well-managed social media presence, it's not just about maintaining the fans you already have.
It's about opening new doors.
Exactly. And our sources really highlighted that. They said that a strong online presence can lead to all kinds of amazing opportunities, like collaborations with other artists, endorsements from brands, even features in the media.
Because people are constantly scouting for new talent online.
One source even said, a well-managed social media presence can lead to increased exposure and new opportunities, such as collaborations, endorsements, and media features.
Exactly. And when you have that strong, professionally managed online presence, it's like a magnet, attracting the attention of all the right people.
So basically, everything we've talked about today, it all boils down to this. Social media management for musicians today is about so much more than just like posting a random pic or tweeting about your latest gig.
It's so much bigger than that.
It's about having a solid digital strategy, being consistent with your brand, managing your time effectively, engaging with your audience, creating awesome content, using data to make smart decisions, staying ahead of the trends, handling any unexpected situations, using paid advertising strategically, and ultimately opening up new doors for growth and success.
It's basically essential now.
Yeah.
Like we've seen from all the research, for any musician who's serious about their career, effective social media management, it's not an option anymore.
It's a must-have.
Yeah. It's just part of how the music industry works now. Music is discovered, shared, and experienced online.
So here's something to think about as we wrap things up. We know musicians are already super busy people. They're creating music, performing, dealing with the business side of things. It's a lot. But if they neglect this crucial element of social media, this connection to their audience in the industry, well, what kind of impact could that have on their potential, on their growth, their connections, their overall success in a world that's more digital every day? Something to ponder.
A lot to think about for sure.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.